He's barely breathing. How many times does the tell you?
Okay, you know what, ma'am? You could deal with yourself. I'm not going to deal with this, okay?
Living in this world can be quite tumultuous. Each day brings forth new tragic stories, often featuring unexpected and horrifying incidents of murder. In such trying times, people turn to emergency services like 911 for help, or to navigate these challenging situations. Nevertheless, there are instances where these calls go wrong.
The woman was screaming and yelling and she was trying to break down my door. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed my gun and I just saw that.
Police, you got any weapons, you better put them down. Oh my God!
Exacerbating the already dire circumstances. Some individuals foresee their own demise, while others are taken by surprise. Saying farewell to loved ones becomes especially challenging when one meets an untimely death. This was the unfortunate fate of Kiona Griffin, a victim of the Michigan family murder. In the moments leading up to her tragic end, she managed to contact the police for assistance, reaching out via a 911 call. However, despite her desperate plea for help, Kiona Griffin was fatally shot, adding another layer of tragedy to the already distressing incident. The details of what unfolded leading to her death remain a haunting mystery.
911 emergency. Hello?
Kiona Griffin's final moments were hauntingly captured in a desperate 911 call to a dispatcher in Grand Rapids, Michigan. In a whispered plea, she uttered, quote, "I need help. Can you just hurry up, please? He's trying to K me. He already K'd my auntie. Can you hurry up, please?" For enthusiasts of true crime on TikTok, videos recounting the tragic details of Kiona's murder and the questionable response by the police to her distress call have likely circulated. The unfortunate incident unfolded in March 2019 at 553 Sheldon Avenue Southeast, where Kiona Griffin and her aunt, Charlotta Baber-Bay, lost their lives. The lingering question remains, could a more thorough response by the police have potentially saved Kiona's life, or at the very least led to the apprehension of Daryl Brown, the primary suspect in this devastating case?
He's one of the most wanted men in America, accused of two women in the Grand Rapids home that he shared with them.
Darrell Damon Brown is still out there.
A year after the tragic murders, Jacqueline Baber-Bay shared poignant insights into her granddaughter's characters with Wood. Kiona, she was just a brilliant smile. She lit up a room when she walked in and she was a ride or die. If she was for you, she was for you. If she wasn't, she wasn't. She was just a sweetheart, just a sweetheart. She'd do anything for anybody. I just miss her. Kiona resided at 553 Sheldon Avenue SE with Jacqueline, Charlotta, and Daryl Brown. The suspect, who was Charlotta's boyfriend. Charlotta's body was discovered lying in bed under a blanket with a gunshot wound in the back of the head. She had earphones on and likely did not hear the approach of the shooter. The tragic discovery of Kiona Griffin's body unfolded in an upstairs bedroom, where she had sustained 4 bullet wounds, including a devastating shot to the face. It is speculated that she had likely heard or witnessed the murderer taking her aunt's life and sought refuge in the bedroom. During her 911 call, Kiona whispered, possibly attempting to conceal her location from the assailant.
Okay, where are you located? I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't hear you. Are you able to tell me where you're located?
Approximately 8 minutes after Kiona's call disconnected, 3 officers arrived at the residence. Body camera footage revealed one of the officers knocking on the front door, using both the knocker and his fist. Receiving no response, he attempted to jiggle the doorknob, discovering it was locked.
1870, can you try to call back?
1878, there was no answer.
They're trying to sign over there.
The dispatcher informed the officers that attempts to reconnect with the caller had been unsuccessful. In their investigation, one officer peered through a window into the dining room area, while another checked around the back. Concluding with descriptors like nothing and empty, the officers faced the grim reality of a missed opportunity to intervene in this tragic situation. One officer suspected the caller was a 96, cop talk referencing a caller with mental health issues. Roughly 4 minutes after arriving at the residence, the officers left. Kent County Prosecutor Chris Becker explained the police's actions. Quote, "There was no blood. It's a shut-up house. The house is very protected. Fourth Amendment, you've got to have some pretty good reason to go in. There has to be something that drives them more than just a phone call, because there's people out there who prank call to get people, unfortunately. Anya Griffin, Kiana's mother, raised concerns about the possibility of differential treatment by the police based on factors such as race and geographic location. She questioned whether the response would have been different if the call had originated from a wealthier, predominantly white area. Griffin acknowledged the complexity of the situation, saying, quote, "I don't know the officer's motives. It could have been because of the color of her skin. It could have been because of the geographic location of where it happened." In response, GRPD Sergeant John Witkowski stated in a communication to Wood 8 that the police response is dictated by the information provided in each call. He explained that without a warrant, officers cannot forcibly enter a house without cause. According to Sergeant Witkowski, the officers on the scene did not observe anything that warranted forced entry into the house. Tragically, 2 hours and 18 minutes after the police left, Sanford Cummings II made a call from the same location. He reported that his sister, Kiona, was unresponsive and there was blood everywhere. Despite attempts at CPR, Kiona had already passed away by the time help arrived.
911 emergency.
My sister not moving.
In February 2020, Sergeant Witkowski acknowledged that in hindsight, the officers would have opted to break into the house after Kiona's distress call. He conveyed the officers' deep remorse over the tragic outcome, stating, quote, "The officers and dispatchers are absolutely beating themselves up over this. At the end of the day, it's a tough call. Some say, yeah, go in. Others say, right call." During the anniversary of the murders, Kiona's family reiterated their blame for the police response. Jacqueline expressed her belief that the police didn't take the situation seriously due to preconceived notions about their neighborhood and identity. She emphasized that if their lives had been deemed important, the response would have been handled differently. The family argued that the urgency conveyed by Kiona's statement, someone trying to K her, not merely assault her, should have provided enough reason for the police to forcibly enter the house, a decision that was not made at the time. Sanford Cummings Sr., Kiona's godfather, criticized the lack of urgency and importance shown by the officers, describing the entire incident as senseless and a tragedy. Jacqueline Baber Bay added her frustration, pointing out the stark difference in the police's response at 1 o'clock compared to their indifference at 10 o'clock, resulting in the devastating loss of lives.
And police say who lived with the victims. Their bodies found in a home on Sheldon. GRPD confirmed in just the last hour Daryl Brown lived with Charlotta Baber Bay and Kiana Griffin.
Charlotta first encountered Daryl Brown in the library, marking the beginning of what would become her first serious relationship. Charlotta always saw the good in people, and she just trusted that he was a good person and Kiona could see right through him, shared Anya Griffin, Kiona's mother. Despite having lived in the house for 2 years, the family only knew Daryl as Jay. According to the family, Brown exhibited a sweet and nurturing demeanor but preferred solitude. Detective Kelly Bright noted in her report, quote, "What we were gathering was that most did not care for Jay and did not speak to him often. We were told Jay did not have a job, he did not use Facebook as far as they knew. They did not know of any of his family and they did not have a phone number for him." Detectives, in the process of investigating, discovered a box in Charlotta's closet containing prison letters from Daryl Brown addressed to Kiona's aunt. In these letters, Brown consistently signed as Jay. The jail correspondence became crucial in identifying Daryl Brown, a man with an extensive criminal history. While the family knew Jay had been to prison for failing to pay child support, his criminal record revealed a disturbing history, including a 2005 assault on his ex-partner. Court records detailed a brutal attack in which Daryl tied her with cords, kicked and gagged her, urinated on her, and doused her with flammable fluid, all while her 4 children slept upstairs. The victim managed to escape the following day by boarding her child's school bus and seeking help from the driver. Daryl didn't face extensive jail time because the victim said in court that prison wasn't the best option for him. Ultimately, Brown was convicted of a misdemeanor domestic violence charge, despite the nature of the brutal assault. Jacqueline insisted that Daryl's behavior didn't arouse suspicion. Quote, "There were no red flags at all. That's the reason why this is so maddening. Because what went wrong in that short span of time? This man blindsided all of us. He betrayed us." 36 hours after the Grand Rapids Police Department GRPD spokeswoman Sergeant Kathy Williams declared that Daryl Brown was a person of interest in the case. Sergeant Williams emphasized the potential danger he posed and advised against public attempts to approach or engage with him regarding the ongoing investigation. Daryl was considered a suspect because the police had linked the weapon, a 9mm high-point pistol, to him. The gun was registered to a woman who had previously dated Daryl, and she reported it stolen in July 2017, coinciding with the time of her relationship with him. Detective Sergeant John Purley noted, quote, "This information provides a direct connection of Daryl Demon Brown to the high-point pistol found at the scene. The police's failure to enter the house after Kiona Griffin's call gave Daryl Brown a 3-hour head start. During this time, surveillance footage captured him making various stops, including one at the Grand Rapids Children's Museum. The pursuit of Brown intensified as investigators worked to track his movements and bring him to justice. Daryl Brown managed to disappear after being dropped off by one of his former girlfriends in the area of Leonard Street and Turner Avenue Northwest. Prosecutor Chris Becker highlighted the unusual nature of Brown's disappearance and pointed out that his experience living off the grid had contributed to evading authorities. People have social media, they have phones, they have things that you can connect, that you can trace. But even when Brown was here, he didn't have a job. As far as we know, he didn't have friends, so there were no phones, no social media." Sergeant Kathy Williams explained that Brown's numerous aliases further complicated tracking efforts, including names such as Daryl Robinson, Marcus Wright, Michael Richardson, Carter Brown, Derek Brown, and Jay. She mentioned,
"That definitely makes the investigation more difficult. Not only are we searching all of our databases for someone, but we're having to search by 4, 5, 6, 7 names, and those are only the ones that we know about."
In July 2021, the U.S. Marshals declared Daryl Brown one of the country's 15 most wanted criminals, suspecting that he had left Michigan and may be receiving assistance from relatives or associates in Georgia, Arizona, Ohio, and Wisconsin. The Marshals are offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to Brown's arrest. Bruce Norton, a U.S. Marshal, emphasized the challenge of identifying Brown, stating, quote, "He looks very unassuming and could literally be standing behind you in a grocery checkout lane." The search for Daryl Brown continues, marked by the urgency of his inclusion in the most wanted list. In July 2020, a devastating fire engulfed the Baber Bay house, resulting in the tragic deaths of Jacqueline Baber Bay and her grandson, Amarian Cummings. According to Captain Paul Mason of the Grand Rapids Fire Department, the fire was ignited by candles placed on the front porch during a vigil held for Kiona and Charlotta. Captain Mason described the initial response, stating, quote, "The first arriving crew found a heavy volume of fire on the front of the house. There was no one standing out front, yet there were cars in the driveway, so it's a bad sign right from the start." Tragically, Jacqueline and Cummings succumbed to smoke inhalation as they were unable to escape the inferno. Captain Mason expressed the profound impact of the incident on the firefighting team, stating, quote, "It affected us all, had a big impact on us, it's just so sad. The incredible loss on top of the previous tragedy, that's just the great sorrow of this whole event, and our hearts just go out to the family. It's terrible." The fire added another layer of sorrow to an already deeply tragic sequence of events for the Baber Bay family. Well, this is just one tragic incident. However, we have a history full of such incidents. In June 2023, authorities arrested Susan Lawrence, a 58-year-old white woman, for fatally shooting her black neighbor, Ajike Owens, through her front. This incident has reignited the controversy surrounding Florida's divisive Stand Your Ground law. The Marion County Sheriff's Office charged Lawrence with manslaughter with a firearm and other offenses. The shooting, which occurred in the rolling hills south of Ocala, the heart of Florida's horse country, prompted widespread anger and protests.
Court date today for the woman who shot and killed her neighbor. The case made headlines last week after Susan Lawrence shot A.J. Owens right through her front door.
Sheriff Billy Woods stated that the tragic event was the result of a 2.5-year feud between the neighbors. In a video posted on Facebook, Sheriff Woods clarified that this was not a stand your ground case, but rather described it as simply a K. Ajike Owens, a 35-year-old mother of 4, lost her life in the Friday night incident. Quote, "The confusion over the lack of immediate arrest may have troubled many of you," the sheriff explained. "The laws in the state of Florida are explicit. While I may not personally favor or agree with them, I am bound to uphold and enforce those laws." A video released by the sheriff's office depicts 2 detectives and a deputy guiding Susan Lawrence, dressed in shorts, a black top and a jacket, down a hallway with her hands restrained behind her back. However, Susan called 911, but they did not make it to the time.
They've called one side or the other. Either the mother, Ms. Owens, is called or a shooter is called, complaining about the children.
As per the sheriff's office, the evidence indicates that Lawrence had developed resentment over time due to Ajike Owens' children playing in a field near her residence.
The kids told investigators she'd chased them away from a common area in the complex by swinging an umbrella at them.
One night, an altercation unfolded as stated by the sheriff's office, revealing that Susan Lawrence engaged in a dispute with Ajike Owens' children. A neighbor overheard Susan yelling at the kids. In the midst of the argument, Lawrence reportedly threw a roller skate at Owens' 10-year-old son, striking him in the toe. Subsequently, the 10-year-old and his 12-year-old brother approached Lawrence, who opened her door and swung an umbrella at them. After the incident, the boys informed their mother of the confrontation.
Lawrence claims the 35-year-old mom was banging on the door while yelling, "I'm going to kill you." She says she panicked, grabbed a handgun, and fired through her door, then called 911.
In response, Owens went to Lawrence's house, knocking on the door multiple times and demanding her presence outside. In a tragic turn of events, Lawrence fired a single shot through the door, hitting Owens in the upper chest. Notably, at the moment of the shooting, Owens' 10-year-old son was standing beside her, as highlighted by the sheriff's office. Deputies initially responding to a trespassing call at the apartment that night discovered Owens with gunshot wounds. Despite efforts, Owens succumbed to her injuries after being taken to the hospital. When questioned by the sheriff's office, Lawrence claimed she acted in self-defense and that Owens was trying to break down her door. Lawrence also claimed that Owens had come after her in the past and had previously attacked her, the office continued. But, quote, detectives were able to establish that Susan's actions were not justifiable under Florida law and she was arrested, the office said. The manslaughter charge Lawrence is facing is punishable by up to 30 years in prison, the office noted. She's also charged with culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault. Billy Woods said in a statement that he wants, quote, to thank Miss Owens' family for their patience as we conducted the diligent investigation that we were bound by law to conduct. Miss Lawrence's fate is now in the hands of the judicial system, which I trust will deliver justice in due course. As I go to bed tonight, I will be saying a prayer for Miss Owens' children and the rest of her family. I'd ask all of you to do the same. Owens' family members in a news conference fervently called for the arrest of Susan Lawrence. At a vigil on Monday, Pamela Diaz, Owens' mother, voiced her pursuit of justice for her daughter and grandchildren. Diaz emphasized the tragic circumstances, stating, quote,
"My daughter was shot and killed with her 9-year-old son standing next to her. She had no weapon. She posed no imminent threat to anyone."
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump, representing Owens' family and known for his involvement in high-profile cases, including Trayvon Martin's in 2012, issued a statement alleging that racial slurs were hurled at the children by the shooter before the confrontation. Crump's involvement in the Trayvon Martin case brought attention to Florida's stand your ground law. However, the sheriff's office has not confirmed the use of racial slurs or indicated whether race played a role in the shooting. Approximately 36 protesters, predominantly black, gathered outside the Marion County Judicial Center on Tuesday demanding the arrest of the shooter in this latest intersection of race and gun violence. State Attorney William Gladson, the chief prosecutor, engaged with the protesters and urged patience as the investigation unfolded.
And we want to ensure that we get the facts right, especially in a case to this level.
Sheriff Woods stated on Monday that detectives were collaborating with the state attorney's office, conducting an investigation into potential self-defense claims before considering any criminal charges. He highlighted the challenge posed by the stand your ground law, explaining that an arrest could only be made if it could be proven that the shooter did not act in self-defense. A makeshift memorial with a stuffed teddy bear and bouquets marked the area where Owens was fatally shot. Children nearby continued with their activities, riding bikes, scooters, and playing basketball. The protest, marked by chants of "No Justice, No Peace" and "AJ, AJ, AJ," reflected the community's demand for justice. Demonstrators carried signs bearing slogans like "Say her name, Ajike Owens," and "It's about us." Addressing the gathered crowd, Lauren Smith, a resident living across the street from the shooting site, recounted the tragic events. She witnessed one of Owens' young sons pacing and yelling about the incident. Smith rushed to the scene, administering chest compressions until rescue crews arrived. She attested that there was no altercation and that Owens did not possess a weapon. She was angry all the time that the children were playing out there, Smith said. She would say nasty things to them. Just nasty. Smith, who is white, described the neighborhood as family-friendly.
You said someone tried to break down your door, is that correct? Yes, yes, she was trying to break down my door. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed my gun and I shot at the door.
Another incident happened when the 11-year-old boy was shot in the chest by a Mississippi police officer. After he called 911 for help, he began praying and singing during what he thought would be his last moments alive, while his mother pushed down on his wound to stop the bleeding. Adarian Murray sang the gospel song, quote, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper," in the moments after his May 20th shooting, he told CNN's Nick Valencia in an interview Tuesday. He then told his mother to tell his family and his teacher he was sorry for what he did. Adarian attributes his survival to his prayers, emphasizing that they played a crucial role in saving his life. However, the traumatic experience has left lingering thoughts about the potential outcome. He shared, quote, "Sometimes I can envision myself lying in a coffin. Those are my nightly thoughts, the only ones I have." Adarian spoke softly during the interview, displaying a wisdom beyond his years. He continued, quote,
"I sometimes think people are watching me, but my main thought is me dead.
Nearly 10 days after the incident, Adarian expressed ongoing physical challenges, including pain in various parts of his body, difficulty breathing, and limitations in activities like running or jumping. Despite these struggles, he recognizes the significance of being alive, attributing it to the grace of God. Quote, "I believe God has a plan for me. I don't know it yet," he reflected, "but I will know it soon." The motion says the plaintiff also failed to establish a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution because Capers' actions were unintentional, and he and his fellow officer were never informed there were children in the home when they responded to a 911 call about a violent domestic disturbance.
On the phone, she's whispering, the male subject won't let her go to the door, keep knocking the door.
We are at the door.
Adarian Murray sustained a gunshot wound to the chest from an Indianola Police Department officer who was responding to a domestic disturbance call at the child's residence, as previously reported by CNN. The identified officer involved in the shooting is Greg Capers, as confirmed by the Indianola police. Despite CNN's attempts to obtain comments from Officer Capers, there has been no response. Additionally, the police have not released further information or details regarding the circumstances surrounding the shooting incident. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is currently conducting an inquiry into the shooting incident. In response to the ongoing investigation, the Indianola Board of Aldermen made the decision to place Officer Greg Capers on paid administrative leave, as revealed by the attorney representing the boy and his mother in discussions with CNN.
The city of Indianola has not even attempted to explain the situation. I don't think there's any earthly justifiable reason that you would shoot an unarmed 11-year-old.
The circumstances leading to the incident unfolded when Nicola Murray, the boy's mother, requested Adarian to contact the police. This request was made after the father of one of her children arrived at her residence after 4 a.m. on that Saturday and exhibited agitated behavior.
So I was asleep, and then I heard a deep voice, and then I heard my mom cry, and she said, "Call the cops."
Adarian informed CNN that he had communicated to the 911 operator that the man involved did not possess a gun, a fact corroborated by his mother when the police arrived. Despite this information, upon police arrival, Adarian, following their commands, was shot.
You got any weapons, you better put them down. Oh my God! Missed that.
Quote, "I just tried to follow the police commands, but I guess that didn't work," the child expressed. Following the incident, Adarian underwent medical procedures, including the insertion of a chest tube and placement on a ventilator. Carlos Moore, the attorney representing Adarian and his mother, expressed disbelief at the situation, stating, quote, "If I had not been informed about the case, I would not have believed that this could be possible. A trained officer shooting an unarmed 11-year-old, for him to do this, to shoot a boy that obeyed his commands. He came out with his hands up and gets shot in the chest? Unheard of." In response to the family's legal action seeking $5 million in federal court, alleging excessive force, negligence, reckless endangerment, civil assault, and battery, among other charges, Mayor Featherstone stated that while he looks forward to making everyone whole, the city does not have $5 million in reserves. Adarian told CNN he wants to know why he was shot, and wants the officer who did it to lose his job. Quote, "I could have lost my life, all because of you. I want you terminated for what you did to me." His perception of police has changed since the shooting, he added, but that's not all that's different. When he's alone in dark rooms, he often thinks people and officers are inside his home. Sometimes he thinks he's seeing the officer who shot him standing inside corners just staring at me. During the same interview, Nicola Murray said she's grateful her son is alive but wants justice for what happened, and that includes better training for police officers and the firing of Capers. One more incident happened when a 911 call led a woman to wrong accusations. Clayton County prosecutors alleged that in 2019, Hannah Payne followed 62-year-old Kenneth Herring before engaging in an argument with him and ultimately firing the shot that led to his death. In contrast, the defense argues that Payne acted in self-defense. During the trial on Thursday, jurors listened to 2 911 calls made by Payne during the incident. In one of the recordings, the dispatcher inquired, quote, "Okay, so you couldn't get a tag number?" Payne responded, "No, but I'm catching up to him right now." The dispatcher then advised, "Okay, ma'am, we actually do not want you to chase him, we just want you to be safe." This snippet of the 911 call is cited by prosecutors as evidence that Payne overstepped boundaries when attempting to halt Herring after he left the crash scene in 2019.
Number? No, but I'm catching up to him right now. Okay, ma'am, we actually do not want you to chase him. We just want you to be safe.
Payne's attorney says she was told to get the tag number by the Georgia correctional officer who took the stand. The defense says Herring attacked her and the shooting was in self-defense. Her attorney Matt Tucker says there is a possibility she will tell the jury that herself. Quote, she's always wanted to get up there and tell her side of the story, so it wouldn't be surprising if she does. But at this time, we're going to hold our cards until it's necessary.
So you never heard them give a warning of not to chase, or?
No. That's when she told me that she just wanted me to be safe. I told her that I understood.
He said. Another incident was observed when a 911 call dispatcher at the Albuquerque Fire Department resigned after audio was released from a recent emergency call in which he told a teen who called to report her friend had been shot to, quote, deal with it yourself before abruptly hanging up. Esperanza Quintero, 17, made a 911 call after her friend Jaden Chavez Silver, also 17, was shot in a drive-by shooting at a house party, the Albuquerque Police Department said. Matthew Sanchez, the dispatcher who answered the call, can be heard repeatedly asking if the victim is breathing in audio.
Hey, is he not breathing?
Barely.
Okay, is he breathing?
He's barely breathing. How many times did the tell you?
Chavez Silver was taken to a hospital where he later succumbed to his wounds and died. Much like firefighters and police officers, 911 responders play a major role in keeping our communities safe. Although 911 dispatchers are the backbone of the emergency responders unit, over the last few years, they've gotten a pretty bad rap.